All right, we're live. So we're just gonna. This is my favorite part of all of our Facebook lives,
I
where
know.
we wait for people to join us. I did push live a minute early,
Oh, okay.
so
So a minute more of
a
vamping.
minute more of awkwardness, which is awesome.
Yeah,
I think.
great.
Oh, we already have people on, no? So that's good.
That
and
is
actually
good.
gives me time
Hi.
to try to get this so I can read comments. We don't have Marnie with us tonight because we're quarantined and on lockdown and can't have people in our house.
I mean, is it really a lockdown, or are we just on
Well,
shelter in place?
according to our esteemed governor,
I can't keep anything straight.
I can't either anymore.
It changes
Okay,
so
why
fast.
isn't this working? Wow, we have a lot of people online with us right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. So as you get on here, if you want to say hi and where you're from, I'm going to be looking at, see, this is why it's weird. I'm going to be looking at comments here and here if possible. It's going to be kind of interesting in the next little bit here for us to catch these things. So we're going to try to catch them as much as possible. But as you come on, make sure you say hello. We're going to make an announcement in a minute, so you may want to save your questions for just a few minutes. But come on in, say hello to each other, connect with one another. We already have 615 people online right
That's
now.
exciting.
That's a
Hi,
lot.
guys. I'm glad you
can
guys joined
tell-
us.
Yeah, I am too. And you can tell there's not much to do.
No.
This is about triple our normal audience on a Friday night. So that's pretty cool. So
That's exciting.
yeah, so just as you come in, say hello to one another, say hello to us, let us know where you're from. We always like to kind of keep a map of who's joining us, and so that's kind of a fun
I
thing.
know. Marnie's been doing great with that.
Yeah. So already I'm seeing Myrtle Beach, West Virginia, or seeing Pennsylvania, seeing all North
Fayetteville.
Carolina, Texas, Arizona, Ohio, more Texas, so Louisiana.
Yeah.
So cool. So cool. So as you come on, we should have a lot of our national team in the chat as well down there in the
Oh, yeah,
comments.
that's
So
right,
I know I see Scott Kemp and Megan's in there, and a bunch of other people are going to be in there. So make sure you say hello to them. Alabama's there, man. So cool.
Yes.
So I just realized I'm going to have to close this so I can read you the announcement because I want to make sure I get it completely right. So I'll do that. No big deal. I can come back to that in a minute. All right, so there's over 1,000 people online, so I think we can go ahead and make this announcement. So I have a prepared statement that the national team we all came up with today. If you're scared right now, don't be. I feel like I'm making it sound like something bad,
No,
but
it's
it's
good.
actually something
It's
good and
good.
exciting.
It's very good. Yes.
And so I'm going to read this, and then I'm sure you're going to have tons of questions. We're going to expand on some of these things in a minute as well. But this is a new day for Celebrate Recovery, and so I'm gonna go ahead and jump into this
New
now.
times. New times.
All right. So, due to the virus, the restrictions are changing daily as more cities are sending out shelter-at-home orders. That's what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
This is basically making face-to-face meetings impossible. Your Celebrate Recovery national team has created a way for us to connect while face-to-face groups aren't possible. We shared with you Mac and Mary shared with you on Facebook Live on Wednesday some different ways that you can still connect, and a lot of you came up with some great ideas as well. Remember to stay in contact with your sponsor and sponsees, check in with your accountability partners daily, share with one another over the phone, and pray with one another. Look for group members you can reach out to. One idea I like is setting up a time during the day, every day, to call through a list of people. Mm-hmm. Don't forget about newcomers that you may have met in the last few weeks before these shelter-at-home orders came in that you've exchanged phone numbers with. And this is a great way to stay connected. We want to encourage you to join us here on Facebook, on our YouTube and Instagram channels as well for daily content, some connection and devotionals and more. And in fact, before I get to the rest of the statement, I just want to let you know that we're actually going to have a Facebook Live Monday through Friday. And we're going to have different people from the team on every day of the week. So if you're looking for more connection, if you're looking for more things, more devotional content, more recovery content, more connection with one another, we're going to have that there for you as well. But the question keeps coming up about online groups. Celebrate Recovery participants know about the stance that Celebrate Recovery has taken about online open share groups. For years, people have wanted us to have these groups. But for safety reasons, we've said no. Unfortunately, with the crisis in our world, having face-to-face groups in many places is not going to be possible right now. Having said that, there are still many areas of the country that can meet in groups of 10 or less. If you can do that, we would encourage you to keep doing it. Now back to the topic at hand, online groups. By creating Celebrate Recovery Crisis Response online open share groups, we believe this can be a temporary solution for you to still be able to connect. As soon as we get through this pandemic, we will go back to face-to-face meetings only. These groups are something just like the time that we're in right now. They're brand new. So here's what they will look like. These online groups will be gender specific. They must be led by a trained leader from a local Celebrate Recovery. All members are committed to being alone in the room that they are going to be sharing in. These groups will be formed from existing groups of a local ministry. These groups will be overseen by the ministry leader from a local CR. The Celebrate Recovery Crisis Response, or what we're calling CRCR, guidelines must be used every time. The leader is subject to remove anyone who is not following the guidelines. The CRCR guidelines are: keep your sharing focused on your own thoughts and feelings. Please limit your sharing to 3 to 5 minutes. So far, so familiar.
Yep.
There is no crosstalk, please. Crosstalk is when two people engage in conversation, excluding all others. Each person is free to express his or her feelings without interruptions. Number 3, we're here to support one another. We will not fix one another. Number 4, anonymity and confidentiality are basic requirements. What is shared in the group stays in the group. The only exception is when someone threatens to injure themselves or others. Number 5, offensive language has no place in a Christ-centered recovery group. At this point, you're thinking, those are the same 5 guidelines we've always followed in all of our groups.
Familiar.
But we have more guidelines for these CRCR groups. Number 6, all members must use headphones. This will ensure that no one can overhear what is shared in the group. Number 7, all members must be on camera. If the group leader asks, they must show the rest of the group that no one else is in the room. Number 8, these meetings will not be recorded. We're counting on you as the group participants to keep these groups as safe as possible. Now, this is a very important note. If the internet is a trigger for you or anyone else in your group, if you've decided to not use the internet to protect your recovery, you need to take extra precautions, such as going over to a friend's house who's in the group and be online on the group together, or you may need to do these groups over the phone. Mm-hmm. As a leader or participants of this group, you are responsible for protecting another's safety in the group. We're going to go through Zoom. Zoom is a free service, so go to zoom.us to sign up for free meetings. You can do free meetings for up to 40 minutes. Remember, this will not be a large group meeting with teaching the Celebrate Recovery lessons. Putting the CR lessons online is still a violation of copyright. As I said, we'll have available every Monday through Friday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the time that we're doing right now, as a time for devotionals and encouragement from national Celebrate Recovery leaders. Here's some bullet points to summarize, and then we're going to get more into this in just a minute. Number 1, Celebrate Recovery Crisis Response open share groups will be allowed. These online CRCR open share groups will be temporary. Number 3, if you can still meet in groups of 10 or less face-to-face, that is still the best option. Number 4, the 8 group guidelines will ensure better safety in the CRCR online groups. And number 5, we are making this allowance only during the crisis. So, that's a lot.
Woo.
And you might be thinking, I didn't get to write all that down. Well, we're going to have it online, available here on our Facebook page and celebraterecovery.com soon, if not by the time this video is over. That's a lot. And so what I really want to do now is...
Do you want to pull your comments back up?
Yeah, I've got them up here.
Okay.
We've been talking a lot about how these groups aren't safe. And now here we are pivoting and allowing these groups. So I think we should talk a little bit about what's unique about these groups or some of the things that we want to make sure keep these groups safe.
Yes. Yeah. The national team has been working really, really hard, getting together every day, actually maybe multiple times a day over the past couple of days.
Usually multiple times a day, yeah.
Deciding what to do with this. We know that these are really unusual times, unprecedented times, basically times we didn't anticipate being in.
Yep.
None of us anticipated a global pandemic that would keep us in our homes and prevent us from being able to meet. And so as a result, we've been meeting, going over ways that we could figure out how people can still connect, because we know that that is a huge part of our recovery, is being able to connect with people. It's a major part of our recovery. So
Right.
we've been working really, really hard to figure out how to do that. And because we have found ourselves in unusual circumstances, we've had to think outside the box.
Yep.
And look at some unusual ways to solve that.
Yeah.
So
there's already some really good questions. One of them was, who's responsible for making sure these groups are following these guidelines? So there's 2 layers for this, maybe 3. The first is the individual leader for each group. They need to make sure that they are, that's why we said they need to be trained, Celebrate Recovery leaders who understand the guidelines, who understand how to lead a group. The next level is the ministry leader of each local Celebrate Recovery. So for example, I was talking to Megan, who's our ministry leader for the Lake Forest Saddleback Celebrate Recovery, the model Celebrate Recovery, and she is going to oversee these groups, meaning these groups are going to meet on Friday nights, the same time our groups meet. They're not going to meet whenever throughout the week. They're going to meet the same time that our groups would normally meet. I think that is a fantastic idea, because that way it's not just whenever,
Yep.
it's the time for the meeting. The next level from that is going to be the state reps and the regional directors and the national team. So if you're a state rep and you're going, man, we didn't hear anything about this, you're right, and we apologize for that. We're going to try to get you as much information as soon as possible, but we really wanted to make sure we got this started as soon as possible. So state reps are going to be checking in with local ministries to make sure that they're not going too far off track, that they're not doing things they're not supposed to do. We realize this is brand new territory for all of us. So we're not expecting you to do it perfectly, but just like in a new Celebrate Recovery or in a new open share group, we're asking you to follow these guidelines to make sure your group is safe. Remember that these are temporary groups. Another question that's come up. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, so I was going to say, I think you kind of hit on this. So nobody is to just start a group out of nowhere, right? They are supposed to start a
these
group
aren't for
through their ministry leader,
Right.
correct?
These aren't supposed to be new groups. These are really ideally going to be situated for groups that have already been existing as a way to keep you connected. So talk to your ministry leader. Talk through this process. State reps, regional directors will be calling ministry leaders and helping roll this out in the next day or 2 or by Monday at the latest. But this isn't just, hey, it's 2:00, I'm going to host an open share group. That's why we're using Zoom. That's why because you have to invite people. By the way, one of the good reasons to use Zoom is if I'm the leader of the group and the host of the group, I can make sure that everyone there is being safe. And if someone has joined the group somehow and they're not supposed to be there, I can remove them from the group. So there's some really good things as well. Joel, yes, state reps will not only get copies of the guidelines, but the guidelines will also be posted on our website as well. Another question was, can we do step studies in this format? For now, we're starting with open share groups. We're going to ask you as ministry leaders and participants and leaders to contact your state reps and let them know how this is going in the meantime. If this is going well and it's safer than we kind of think it's going to be and everything is working really well, then down the line, if the pandemic is going on and on and on, we may open it up for step studies. But right now, what we're trying to do is create an ability for us to get together and share. And just like Celebrate Recovery, when it first started, didn't have step studies for the first 9 years, CRCR, as it first started, isn't going to have step studies online right now either. This is a step-by-step process. So show us that this can be safe and that it's working well during this temporary time, and we may be able to do something like that, right?
Yes, it's a response to meet a need.
Right. So, and then somebody else wanted to know, oh man, we can't do large groups online, even if we take them down at the end. No, you cannot put large group content online. That's not a Johnny and Jenny thing. That's not a Pastor John and Cheryl thing or a Mac and Mary thing. It is protected material by a copyright that we don't hold. It is not allowed to be posted online. If we find it online, we will ask you to take it down so you don't get a cease and desist or worse from the people who hold that copyright. Trust me, you don't want to do that.
But like you were saying, we're going to do these Facebook Lives Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday
Right.
every evening. So
Yep.
that way we all have a united point of connection where we can all come together and meet together and just hear some encouragement and
Yep.
whatever else.
Now, some of you may look at things like the new guidelines. Our dog just walked in the room, so you can't see her, but she's adorable. Some of you may see some of these guidelines like having to have a camera and having to have a headset, and you think, well, those are restrictive. Yes, they are. That's the point. They are. The idea is not that we're trying to be restrictive, but we're trying to increase the level of safety. So if you come to Saddleback for a group, we can make sure it's just men with men in a group and women with women in a group. That's harder to do online. You can also tell that only people who are in your circle are supposed to be there, that there's nobody, our dog is about to get on camera, that nobody is in the room who's not supposed to be there. That's why we're asking you to have a camera. Our dog is moving the camera now. This is part of what's going to happen, by the way, as you do these online groups, these kinds of things. Here she is. There's Lucy. Say hello to Lucy, everyone. Let me see if I can expand that a little bit so you can see her face. There she is. Isn't she adorable? But as these groups happen this way, you can't tell that everybody is in the room, which is why we're asking you to have a camera that you can turn around and you can make sure other people aren't there. It may even just taking the tablet or device that you're using and showing the rest of the group. In fact, if I was leading a group, I would ask our group members to do that once every 2 or 3 shares. Oh, Johnny, that seems so weird. I know it does, but we're trying to increase the level of safety of these groups. Remember, for years we've been saying no, that these groups aren't safe. And now for this temporary time, we're making this allowance. So we have to do things in order to make sure that they're safer, that they're as safe as they possibly can be. Yeah. Which is why, as soon as we can meet back in person, we're going to meet back in person. Right now in California, it's not possible. If we could have our groups the way that we were going to have them tonight, which was we were going to have one leader in a room, we were going to just do gender-specific groups. We were going to count to 10. We were going to close that room and open the next room. Count to 10, open the next room. Well, if we can do that, if we weren't on a shelter at home, that's what we'd be doing tonight.
That's still the best
That's
case
still the
scenario.
best case scenario.
Yeah.
We just can't do that. So as the restrictions get tighter and tighter, that's what you're going to be able to do. However, remember, as soon as we go back, these groups will disappear. This is CRCR, Celebrate Recovery Crisis Response. We are responding to this crisis. And so I'm going to go through here and see if there's any other questions. Domingo says, this is uncharted. I'm so excited for it. Thank you for taking care of our forever family. We'll get through this together. And that's the whole point.
Yes,
that's really what we're trying to do, is provide a way for us to get together and do that. So, yes, our dog is
This is a good one right here.
funny.
Can we do a newcomer
open share group? So, David, that's a great question. The thing that we have to figure out is how we would do that. So one thing I would actually ask you to do, which is aside from these groups, is to create some kind of way for people in your community to get in to Celebrate Recovery at your church. So a email address, a phone number, a hotline, something where people can call and they can, from your church, find out about Celebrate Recovery. Now, of course, we're going to have groups listed online and all of those things. But as members of your community find out that they need Celebrate Recovery, a way to get them plugged in. One of the reasons we like Zoom is that you have to invite people. So a newcomer is going to have to get invited to that. So yes, you can. How you're going to do that, by the way, training on this is going to come out in the next few days.
Absolutely.
Some of you are like, I don't know how to use Zoom. Neither do I. So we have Sabrina, our state rep training coordinator. She is going to actually film a taping, or film a training on how to use Zoom that we're going to make available either on our YouTube channel or here on Facebook or as many places as possible for you to read or to watch, so that you can learn how to do that.
There's another great question.
Yeah.
Somebody asked how many are allowed in each meeting on the Zoom call.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about that a little bit briefly today.
Yeah, what the technical options are, I don't think you can have an open share group too big for Zoom. I think Zoom allows you to have 100 people.
I think Sabrina said 100.
Now, here's the deal. I highly, highly suggest you stay with the free 40-minute Zoom meeting, but that's not a whole hour. I know. But if you go for the one that you pay, I think it's $15 a month for, which each individual church is going to have to do. That's not going to be supplied by Celebrate Recovery. It's going to be harder for you to keep the timing of an hour. You may not be allowed to all speak for 3 to 5 minutes. Remember, this is a crisis response group. This isn't going to be exactly a one-to-one analog of what happens in person.
I'm trying to write some questions down as they come up.
So I would say what I would encourage you to do, somebody wanted to know if they're going to be mixed issue or if they're going to be issue specific. That's going to be up to your individual Celebrate Recovery. I think that either one is okay. It's going to take more organization to do specific groups. They're all going to be gender specific. Easiest thing would be to do mixed issue, but it's really, go ahead.
I was going to say it's going to be up to the ministry leader too, because since the ministry leader is going to be help setting up these groups, it will depend on leaders available, probably so many factors, right?
Yes, yeah. I mean, and here's the thing. There's all these, like, I am seeing these unique situations that are happening where somebody's saying, well, if there's two people together using the same, there's two guys using the same device that can't really use headphones.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff we're going to have to figure out.
Yeah.
And some of that stuff is going to have to be, hey,
there's splitters for that.
Right. Or, I've decided I can't do this group because of this thing. I'm going to have to call my accountability partners more because I can't be in this group.
Yes.
My living situation doesn't work for that because I live in a small apartment and it's hard,
and that's a big encouragement. If you really don't feel safe on these groups, which some people aren't, and that is okay. If you don't feel safe doing an online open share study group, you still have your accountability partners you can set up daily phone calls with.
Right.
Your sponsors that you can set up a daily phone call with. There are other ways that you can still reach out and connect and get that valuable resource in your recovery through this time.
Yes. Yeah. Headphones are going to be required. So the ones that come with a phone, cheap ones, they don't have to be fancy. You don't have to have a microphone on. You know what I mean? There's got to be a way that we are protecting the anonymity, so that we're protecting the confidentiality of everyone in the group. So this is the only way we can figure that out. So again, if you I'm
sorry, I've got a good question. Go ahead.
Okay, no, what are they?
So Marnie is helping us as well, and she's texting me some questions that she's seeing come through. Thank you, Marnie. A question we received is: should there be more than one CR leader per Zoom?
I think if possible, yes. You're going to need at least, what we're trying to say though is that somebody who's been trained as a Celebrate Recovery leader needs to be running the group.
Correct.
If you can have more than one leader, we're going to definitely try to do that here. Yes.
Correct.
And some of this stuff is people are starting to get a little bit into the technical side of it. I can't answer each and every one of those things. What I can tell you is we're doing what we can to offer these groups. And so some of it is going to be up to local ministries to figure some things out. Some of it's going to be up to me as a participant to figure out if I can join a group and if I can commit to making it safe and safe for everybody. Somebody in the comments said that thank you for trying to do this safely because my trust issues are being triggered. Yeah. Mine too, right? Absolutely. And so that's kind of what we're trying to say.
You always have the option to share as much as you're comfortable sharing as well in an open share group.
Right.
And the same applies in an online open share group as well.
Yep. And so, somebody said if you're going to be alone, why should you have to have headphones? We're trying to make it safe as possible. We're alone in this room right now, but we're in our house. And while we may be in one room, somebody could be in the house. We're trying to make it as safe as possible. And what I'm kind of trying to say without saying it is, we're making these allowances, so meet us halfway on these things. If you can't do that, I totally understand. I totally get it. But we can't make the groups less safe because somebody's unwilling or unable to do something like that. So some of it is going to be personal responsibility. Somebody mentioned not chatting in the group chat during shares. 100%, you're right.
That's a good point.
You shouldn't be chatting in there. And if we can figure out how to disable that, we will. But I do like the idea of group members being able to say, here's my email address or my phone number if I want to, so that I can get contacted throughout the rest of the week. But you're right. That is something that we have to keep in mind, for sure. So lots of things to do. And, like Jenny said, the national team, we've been meeting every day on Zoom. I've also had all staff calls that I've had to do with our staff, right? Where Pastor Rick has had to do it. And as we're sitting here, as I've been on my iPad having the conversation, my kids are walking in and out of the room, right? They're trying to get my attention. I've got my headphones on and they're trying to get my attention. I'm stopping and they're going, "Can I have a juice?" And I'm going, "What? Can I have it? Can I play PS4?" Right? All this stuff is happening. Yeah. It's distracting me. So that's why we need to make sure we're alone in the room. And two, why we need to have earphones is, again, if they may come in and not know I'm doing that right now. And so all of that is going to be done that way. All right. So
I have a question.
Yes.
All right. So we are going to be talking to the state reps, right? And the ministry leaders, and setting this up and hopefully rolling this out quickly. So we are waiting to start online groups, and will they be contacted? If anybody wants to get into an online open share group, they're going to, how do they go about that? Contact
their ministry leader. Talk to your ministry leader about it. If your ministry leader isn't watching these Facebook Lives, when we were having our groups, I got it, especially on Friday nights, leaders might be setting things up. But these live on our Facebook page and they also live on our YouTube page. So I would encourage you to tell your ministry leader, we want to start these groups. So please go watch this video so that we can do these. Then talk to them as they go. Now, somebody said, do we do the lesson and testimony in our Facebook Live or in our Zoom call? No, you're just doing open share groups, the same as you would every night that you meet. You're going to do your open share group. What we're doing in place of large group for the time being are these Facebook Lives. We're not going to be doing the lessons. We may do some testimonies from time to time, but what we're going to be doing is devotional content, encouraging content, some connection in the chat, things like that. But no, you don't do the lesson or a testimony in the group. It is just an open share group. And I got to tell you, some of these questions are making me nervous again, because we said we kind of all got together and stacked hands. We were excited, and already people are like, "Well, what about what about if we, can we get away with this? Can we get away with that?" I know, but I'm just saying, I want to make sure, I want to make sure that everybody understands we are making a huge allowance for this, and we are doing everything we can to keep those groups safe.
Can the host mute the participants? Yes. On Zoom, they can.
And in fact, they can remove the participants. Yeah. So that's another reason why we're trying to do that. So I just want to remind you, these groups are temporary.
Use video.
I don't know if you could do that.
You know what? I don't know about that, actually.
Yeah, somebody said, can you just call into Zoom and not use video?
I would say no.
We are asking everyone to be on video.
Because then you can't see who's in the room.
That person could have you on speakerphone. That person could have 5 people around that phone. All that kind of stuff. So all that could happen. My sponsor and my friend Mac Owen just texted me and said everybody's just excited. So
it's true. Okay. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of thank you. Yeah. A lot of people saying we'll get through this together, and we will. And we are gonna. We'll be getting feedback from you guys and making adjustments if we need to make things as safe as possible, which is our goal, as always.
Now, somebody did have a great question. How's this going to work with throwing our calendars out of whack? Some of you are really planned and you know exactly who's going to teach what lesson on which week. Your calendar is going to be out of whack this year, just like every other part of our calendar is going to be out of whack, right? We don't have to do our taxes until July now, I think, right?
Yeah, July 15th,
That's out of whack. And so some of it's just going to be out of whack, and we're going to have to adapt to that. We're going to have to change that. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody knew that we were going to be as impacted by this on such a global level. So some of it's just going to be impacted.
How are we going to handle newcomers?
Yeah. So again, to answer the newcomer question, some of that is going to be a fluid situation, because I think newcomers are going to have to call or reach out to your church somehow, and then you'll identify those newcomers. I would encourage you to respond to that newcomer individually. So If somebody were to call the church and say, I'm looking for Celebrate Recovery, when are you meeting now? Because I don't know how to get there, and all those kinds of things. What I would do is I would encourage, if it's a male, have a male call him back and talk to them about Celebrate Recovery. If it's a woman, have a woman call her back and talk to them about Celebrate Recovery and let them know about these groups. You may want to have a leader or two ready to do a newcomers group. So throughout the week, as you're getting people's numbers and things like that.
I'm trying to read the comments.
I know you are. You're
hand.
driving me crazy. As you have somebody who is asking about Celebrate Recovery, you can invite them to these groups. But a newcomer might actually be a more one-on-one conversation for a little while.
Yeah,
and I think that's
idea.
okay to call that person up and say, hey, I want to talk to you about Celebrate Recovery, talk to you a little bit about this. Actually, I think that's kind of a cool thing to be able to do.
It's great, absolutely.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm just kind of trying to look through.
Curve.
Use the selfie camera on your phone. Exactly. Let's see. Somebody was saying, Roger told me, don't worry, they're going to make sure that they keep it safe. So that
I know, I saw that.
I appreciate that. Let's see. I'm just trying to. This is hard to do when people are doing this. I want you to think about too. Part of this is think about how safe you want the group to be for you, and what you want everybody else in the group to be doing so that your anonymity and confidentiality is secure, and then do a little bit more for everybody else in the group, right? Because I think it's up to us to really keep everyone safe. And look, some of the things that we're sharing aren't meant for other ears, and they wouldn't be appropriate, especially for our kids to hear. And it's another good reason to use headphones so that other people aren't, people aren't hearing things that aren't supposed to be heard.
Again, I just want to encourage you guys, if this is something that you're not comfortable doing, you still have lots of resources and lots of tools to further your recovery and continue recovery throughout this weird global pandemic situation until we can get back to face-to-face meetings. Still accountability partners, still sponsors. We are going to be doing these Facebook Lives Monday through Friday where you can get encouragement and connection with people there as well. So I understand if this is something that doesn't feel safe, but once again, we are going to try our best to make these as safe as possible so people who want to are still able to continue on in an open share group through this time.
Yep. Yeah, and I think, I'm kind of doing the same thing. I'm trying to look through to see if there's anything here, any questions that I can answer. I do think, I'm kind of getting people that are like excited or they're nervous.
Which I get it.
Yeah, and trying to figure out some of those details, and I think some of that is really going to kind of work itself out as we go. We're going to learn things, we're going to grow, we're going to adapt. What I think is pretty cool is, we've, as a national team, we have people who have felt very personally about these things that, and so for us to get together and come up with this when we've all been saying no for so long, I think that's kind of cool because we're willing to listen and learn.
We are willing to listen and learn and realize that this is a big need right now. And I mean, nobody saw this global pandemic coming. It's unexpected. And so again, we kind of have to think outside of the box. And we never thought we'd do online open share groups, but we never thought we'd be in a global pandemic either. And so we do have to address it as it is. And someone did ask, will these continue after the social restrictions are lifted? And no, these will not continue. We will go back to, we still believe that face-to-face meetings are the safest way to meet for recovery. And so once these restrictions are lifted, we will definitely go back to face-to-face meetings, and the online open share groups will not continue.
Another thing is somebody asked, I missed it. This is bad.
I know, it's going so fast.
I know. Okay, well, somebody was asking about focus questions. So different groups use focus questions. Other groups don't use focus questions. Mm-hmm. If you do use one, sure, go ahead and use a focus question. If not, you don't have to. Bobby McWilliams did say that these guidelines are available on the app and online already. So Bobby, thank you for getting those on
Bobby,
so quickly. Awesome. And yes, somebody's asking will this be the same time Monday through Friday? Yes, it'll be 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. We'd love for you to join us every night. We're going to have different people on awesome. those nights of the week. We're going to have Rodney and Carol Holmstrom. We're going to have Cheryl Luke, Mac and Mary Owen. Sabrina and Jenny and I, and if we can figure out a way to get a camera in Pastor John and Cheryl's house without contaminating their house,
we maybe could do it outside. We could set up outside the window.
Yes, exactly.
John and I could stand outside their window, and we can film them through the window pane.
And somebody wanted to know, if we don't want to share, do we have to share? No, but you know what I would do? I wouldn't join one of these groups then. Because if you don't feel comfortable sharing there, I totally understand that, but you need to find another way to connect. Call your accountability partners, call your sponsor, call a friend that's in the group. If you go, this makes me nervous, I don't feel like I can share there, that's fine. But I think, especially in these groups, when we're trying to make sure everybody feels safe, if you're sitting there not sharing, it'd be different than being in a face-to-face group where you're not sharing, because it's sort of like, why are you here if you're not going to share? That's just my 2 cents. Other people on the national team may feel completely different about that, and I'm cool with that, but that's what I would say.
Well, that's something that we'll have to discuss and kind of work through, I think, right? That's a good point.
Yep. People are asking about the summit. At this point, you know what? We're going forward as though the summits are happening. Now, we didn't see any of this coming, but I am praying that the summits are going to happen.
Absolutely.
I'm praying that not only are the summits going to happen, but we're going to have so much desire for connection when all of this is over that we can't wait to get together and have a huge party to really celebrate being able to get back together. In fact,
I can only imagine the amount of energy that's going to be there this year.
And I feel that way about our home groups.
Yes.
I think that some of this is like when we get together for our home group and we finally get to see each other face to face. Like right now, I'm dying to see our people.
Oh yeah.
And this is the second week in a row we haven't been able to be with them, and I can't wait to be with our home CR. So I think that some of that is going to be really cool when it ends up happening again. So I think that's an exciting part of it. So I'm just trying to see if there's any other questions.
Some of that Zoom groups for landing.
Yeah, at this point, we're not going to do Zoom groups for landing because we're experimenting with this. So landing leaders, I would encourage you to reach out to the kids that are in your group. We want to make this as safe as possible. I'm not saying we're not going to. I'm saying right now, this Friday night, we're not going to. That may be something that changes, just like step study groups.
Yeah.
For now, I'm saying no, but that's not something that is completely in stone. I'm going to go away from these comments real quick because there's a verse that I was reading today that is my theme verse during this pandemic. It's my theme verse during this time where here in California, our entire state is on shelter at home. It's my theme verse as we're beginning these new groups. This is the verse that I'm going to just write everywhere and read every day and just keep in front of me. It's Romans 8:28. It says this, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. In all things, God works for the good of those who love him. That means that God is going to bring good out of this time. It means that not everything that's going to happen during this time is good. People getting sick isn't good. Us losing social connection with each other isn't good. But God is going to bring good out of this situation. And I truly, truly believe that. So I want to encourage you to Romans 8:28. Write that down. Have that be your theme verse too. We just disconnected. All right, we disconnected for a second. We're back. I think. All right. Now listen, we've gone over our time anyway. So we're going to go ahead and get ready to sign off. And so I just want to say thank you to all of you who joined us today. Thank you to all of you who have been a part of this call. I want to encourage you to go to the website and read those guidelines. I'm going to cover, again, very briefly, those 5 bullet points at the end, just as a way for anybody who missed the beginning. Number 1, Celebrate Recovery Crisis Response Open Share Groups will be allowed. These online CRCR open share groups are temporary. If you can still meet in groups of 10 or less face-to-face, that is still the best option. The 8 group guidelines, which are online and we will post here, will ensure better safety in the CRCR online open share groups. And we are making this allowance only during the crisis. Here's what I want to encourage you to do. Before you just jump in and start these groups, talk to your ministry leader. Ministry leaders, if you have questions, talk to state reps. You can continue to leave any questions in the comments below. The national team will try to go through as many of those as possible to answer those questions. And I would love for you if you, and our light is getting brighter as it's getting darker. It's a little bit freaky to me right now. It's like, oh, it's very, very bright. And now it's off, so never mind. I think that's our cue to say goodnight. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. If you have any questions, you may want to just rewatch this, or it's going to be on YouTube later. Make sure you talk to your state rep and national team as well. We love you guys. We're so excited for what God's going to do during this time.
Absolutely.
And we're going to say goodnight because our light's off.
All right.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us.
Good night,
love you so much. Don't forget to join us back on Monday night.
Yep.
All right. Bye, everybody.